Welcome to PolicyCast. Today, we're joined by Manoj Mishra to unpack a major development in global trade: the US Supreme Court striking down Trump's administration's reciprocal tariff framework. This ruling has raised important questions around trade policy authority, ongoing tariff measures, and the future of bilateral arrangements, particularly for countries like India. In this episode, we'll explore what the judgment really means, how the US administration may respond, and what it could signal for the India US trade relationship going forward. So let's get started. My first question to you, Manoj: what did the US Supreme Court rule, and what actions has the US administration taken following the decision?
Thanks, Simran. So before I talk about what Supreme Court has done, let's understand the background of it. So US imposed reciprocal tariff on all the countries who were exporting goods to USA, because US is one of the largest consumer in the world. US wanted to say that either you allow free access to your market, or I will be imposing reciprocal tariff. And they imposed different tariff to different countries. And India, it was 25%. And later they also imposed additional 25% on account of Russian oil, since we are buying Russian oil, so there is a provision. Section 301, and they imposed that 25%. So effective rate of tariff become 50% on Indian goods being exported to USA, barring a few items like mobile phone, electronics, then non-generic medicines, etc., because they were covered under different sectors. So on that, no tariff was imposed, no additional tariff was imposed, but all other products become subject to tax at the rate of 50% plus additional tax which was being charged on investment basis. So suppose earlier, prior to tariff rate was 3%, so now Indian product would subject to be tariff at the rate of 53%. So, and all tax will have to be paid by the US consumer. So effectively, Indian products become costlier in USA for the consumers. Now, this reciprocal tariff has been challenged in US courts, and the Supreme Court has said that the President of the USA does not have the authority to impose such tariff without approval from the Congress. Congress is some sort of parliament of USA. So now that since law become invalid, now effectively they cannot charge any additional tariff or reciprocal tariff, as we call it, on the products being exported to USA irrespective of the country. So if they have to charge the tariff which was accepted as per the WTO norms, or as the tariff they charge to every country.
Thanks, that's really interesting and informative. My next question, Manoj, is what are the overall implications of this ruling for India?
As I mentioned before, India, we have to understand the actual implication. Actual implication is that consumer in USA will not be required to pay additional tariff. Okay, it means that products which are being imported in USA become cheaper. Okay? So India, being one of the largest exporters in terms of value, if we talk in terms of Indian exports, has got a big relief, because their product which were price sensitive will now be cheaper in US market. Okay, so they will not be subject to that 50% additional duty, 25% duty on account of Russian oil has already gone, and now this reciprocal tariff has been held as invalid. So that tariff will not be there. So product will become cheaper. So it will be good for our exporters as well as for the consumers in the USA.
What alternative measures does the US administration still have to impose tariffs on trading partners like India?
See, if you ask me, there are none. Though they have provisions in their law that they can impose sector-wise tariff, they can impose tariff on account of buying Russian oil, they impose tariff on temporary basis, which they have done under Section 122. They have imposed 15% for 150 days. But in my opinion, in most of the cases, if people reach out to the Supreme Court or the courts in USA, I have my doubts that these tariffs are going to be survived on the same basis on which the Supreme Court held that reciprocal tariff are invalid. But yes, if you talk immediately, yes, there are provisions under the US laws like 232, 122, under which they can impose tariff, but there has to be some reasons behind that, and that would be subject to scrutiny by the courts.
My next question, Manoj, what does this decision essentially mean for the India-US Bilateral Trade Agreement, for a larger audience, the BTA, and the interim tariff arrangement?
So largely it was agreed, or Mr. President would often say that they pay, we don't pay. And he was referring to the tariff. So he means to say that when goods are exported from India to US, in US it would be subject to 18% tariff, and when goods are coming from USA to India, it would not be subject to any kind of tariff. So this is what Mr. President said, but that will not be the case now. Okay, so they cannot impose any tariff. So India is not in a hurry to finalize the BTA, which they were supposed to do in March. And you would have read in the papers or in media that the negotiating team which was there to finalize the agreement did not discuss it, and it was said that let's adjourn it and we'll discuss it in the due course. So yes, as of now, most of the countries have put halt button on the discussion, and whosoever has already signed it may be looking for some clause under which they can say that this BTA will not be applicable, or we need to renegotiate. But definitely there will be renegotiation on the terms and conditions, especially tariff rates and the kind of opening of the sectors which was discussed under the FTA.
My last question, is there a possibility of refunds for tariffs already paid?
So there are two parts to it. If you talk to me legally, the answer is yes, because since tax has been held as invalid, so anything collected without authority of law has to be refunded. This is the common jurisprudence applicable universally. But if you look at the practical side, it is almost impossible. Their economy will collapse because the amount which they have collected during the year is huge. So it is going to impact US economy very hard. Like in my opinion, I don't see that refund happening anytime soon. But yes, legally they should have refunded. So maybe we'll have to wait that if somebody is reaching out to US courts for such refunds. But as of now, in my opinion, it is not going to be automatic refund.
Thanks. That was extremely insightful, Manoj. And thank you so much for helping us break down a complex and fast evolving trade situation like this. Today, we examined the legal implications of the US Supreme Court's ruling, the potential policy responses from the administration, and what this could mean for India-US trade ties, including the interim tariff arrangement and possible refund scenarios as well. As global trade dynamics continue to shift, developments like these remind us how closely law, policy, and economics are intertwined. And with that, we wrap up this episode of PolicyCast. We'll be back soon with more expert conversations on tax, trade, and policy. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.